Hey, this is Marek, and I would like to show the new feature for Forklift mass gather, and that's targeted gathering. It's solved by the PR, which is number 7. First, I will walk through the source code changes, and then we'll show it live how that works. So let's start on the PR page. This is example command, which we will try out later. But now about the targeted gathering should generally be provide faster and filtered data for the mass gather scripts, and it should like allow to analyze log files and CRs faster because it should be less data. So let's switch to source code changes. First, I updated mass gather image 247 to current OpenShift. Also added a JQ tool for JSON filtering and getting IDs and so on from OpenShift output. Also added targeted gathering section to README plus some structure changes in the README. For the targeted gathering itself, I added a new script which has name targeted, which is the entry point for it. And it's quite similar to the full mass gather. It just calls different targeted CRs and targeted logs. For the targeted CRs, it has like 2 main sections. First one is getting or exploring OpenShift objects or CRs, and the second one is dumping the CRs. Plus, there are some user input checks to provide more user-friendly interface for during the mass gather execution. So this populates lists of inventory or objects which should be gathered. There are arrays for plan, VMs, and so on. For the dumping or storing the data, there is the general function for that. But generally, these functions iterates the array with IDs of given resources and download the resources. In some cases, for the plans and for the VMs, there is also the log filter query variable, which contains query for grep for filtering logs. So logs should be also filtered. Yeah, so maybe only more interesting is VM, which is slightly more complicated. It uses VM import to identify the VM names and data volume, so all these objects are gathered. Finally, it's the query for log filter is stored because the log filtering is in different script, and also in case that nothing has been identified by the arguments or parameters passed by the user, there is error message which should say user in understandable way that nothing has been found, so archive is empty. The last piece is targeted logs, which is kind of similar also to full version, just there is a little bit less data and filtering based on the targeted query, which has been constructed in the CRs gathering. That's it for the source code. So now let's see it live. Currently, this is my development image, but later it will be just QI/IO conveyor for Forklift mass gather image. So let's start with specifying namespace. My namespace has name dest ns VMware. The execution of the mass gather takes few tens of seconds. Usually the longest way is until OpenShift prepares the pod and this kind of stuff. Once it's running, it's pretty fast. Okay, so let's start with the CR. So these are these lines. So we can see that targeted gathering is for destination NS VMware namespace. So it exports plan 1 virtual machine, some virtual machine import, and data volume. Also, this is logs which were dumped and filtered. Let's look what is the result. So in the dest VMware namespace, there are CRs which represent data volume, virtual machine which has name Maufart CentOS 1, and virtual machine import which is present too. Regarding to log files which are in OpenShift migration, there could be interesting the controller log, which is only covers only lines which contain either plan one or the VM name or these identifiers. So always there is either plan one or VM name. Maybe let's return to plan. Plan object lives in the OpenShift migration namespace, so it's dumped here. Okay, let me return. Okay, we'll try dump just the VM. So we'll keep the namespace. It's usually better. So I specified the VM, which is VM-3345. The ID comes from the plan YAML, so that's the ID, not really name of the VM. We are expecting now that there will not be, for example, plan and just the VM. Also, speed depends on the OpenShift deployment. Usually, it is really fast. So in the log files or in the output, we can see there is gathering for the VM 3345 in this namespace. Virtual machine has been identified. Its related objects, which is virtual machine import, data volumes, has been identified too. So we might look to the result, but it will be just, let's say, a subset of the previous output. So in the OpenShift migration, there is no CR, so no plan. If you look to the controller, there should be a little bit less data than before. So it works. Maybe the last example will be with the plan. It's again pretty much the same. But what I'm going to do is to specify just plan will be plan one. So we can see it's running again. The objects are pretty much the same. Plus there is the plan. That's this line. I will take a look to the result. So in the OpenShift migration, there should be CR with the plan which is present, same as the same as the destination as VMware with virtual machine and so on. Let's maybe give some example. Will be enough, like error handling or kind of error handling. If there is nothing, it should end up with error message that no arguments or options were specified. Yeah, so there is the there is the error message that target getting parameters are missing. Nothing's there. Also, if for example I will use some VM which is I don't know, non-existing VM. I should get some error message that nothing has been found, or maybe even a list with the VMs. Again, what we are waiting for is to spawn the must gather pods and namespace and this kind of stuff on backend of OpenShift. It seems my OpenShift is currently unstable. Let's try it again. Okay, I'm sorry, it doesn't work. Doesn't seem to be responsive at this moment. So hope it should not be caused by my must-gather scripts. Yes, timeout. So OpenShift has some issues. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward for feedback or a review on my PR. Thank you.